My family ditched me 220 miles from home to cool off after my golden brother made out with my girlfriend. They thought I'd come crawling back, but I built a better life without them. Now they're furious. I refuse to save them from the consequences they chose. Hey Reddit, my family always decided my value for me, and I finally stopped playing along. I walked away, built a life that actually fits, and thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Before all of that blew up, here's how it really started. I'm Forrest. I'm 32. I work as a senior maintenance tech for a regional logistics company. I fix broken systems for a living, which is fitting, because that's been my role in my family for as long as I can remember. I'm the younger son, the useful one, the guy who gets called when something stops working and forgotten the second it's fixed. My parents are Skylar and Walter. They live in the same house I grew up in. That place still runs because I keep it running. I replace their water heater when it fails. I fix the wiring when outlets die. I handle their insurance forms, tax paperwork, online accounts, and anything that involves a password they forgot. None of that gets thanked. It's treated like breathing. If I ever didn't show up, it would be a problem. But since I always do, it's just expected. Then there's my older brother, Duke. He's 36 and works some corporate job that involves conference calls, buzzwords, and expensive shoes. I couldn't tell you exactly what he does, and neither can he if you ask long enough. But according to Skylar, Duke is going places. According to Walter, Duke thinks big. According to both of them, Duke is the successful one. Here's the part they don't mention. Duke calls me every time something real needs to be handled. His car breaks down, I go get it. His apartment floods, I deal with the landlord. He needed help optimizing his finances, which meant I spent a weekend sorting his mess of accounts and debts. He thanks me with a slap on the shoulder and then goes right back to being the star of the family. Skylar treats my skills like chores. Duke's job title, whatever it is this year, gets treated like proof of genius. She'll watch me replace a pump or rewire a panel and say, "You're so good with your hands." Like that's a cute trick. Duke talks for 5 minutes about quarterly growth, and suddenly she's telling relatives he's a natural leader. Walter doesn't argue. He just nods. He never corrects her. He never points out that one son builds and fixes real things while the other talks about them. He reinforces it quietly. He'll ask Duke for advice about things Duke doesn't understand, and then ask me to just take care of it afterward. The one thing in my life that was fully mine was my car. A late 60s Mustang Fastback. I bought it as a shell and spent 2 years rebuilding it after work and on weekends. Every cent I saved went into it. I didn't rush it. I didn't cut corners. I learned what I didn't know and fixed what I broke along the way. When it finally rolled out of my garage under its own power, it wasn't just a car. It was proof I could take something neglected and make it solid again. Duke noticed. He started making comments that were half jokes and half tests. Stuff like, "That car deserves a bigger stage," or, "A ride like that should belong to someone who represents success." Skylar laughed every time. The kind of laugh that says she agrees, but doesn't want to say it out loud. Walter didn't laugh, but he didn't shut it down either. At first, I brushed it off. Victoria didn't used to be like that. We'd been together a few years, and she always said she liked that I was self-sufficient, that I didn't need permission or applause to get things done. She liked the car because I built it, not because of what it looked like. Or at least, that's what she said. Then something shifted. Slowly but clearly. She started using Skylar's phrases. Said I should aim higher instead of just being good at what I do. Started talking about Duke's lifestyle like it was a blueprint. She didn't insult me outright. It was more like she was quietly comparing, and I was always the one coming up short. When I mentioned feeling off about it, she said I was being defensive, that I was projecting, that Duke just had ambition, and I shouldn't take it personally. I started trusting my instincts less, which in hindsight was exactly the point. The setup came wrapped as good news. Duke announced he'd landed a major promotion. Skylar acted like he'd been elected to office. Walter poured on the praise. Within minutes, Skylar decided the family needed to celebrate properly. Not dinner, not drinks. A full weekend at my grandfather's old mountain cabin. We'd used it once, years ago, after he died, and then let it sit. It was 220 miles from my parents' house, and the last 15 miles were dirt. Once you committed to that drive, you were in it. The deed ended up in my parents' name after the estate got messy, so they treated it like theirs, even when it still felt like his. I said I wasn't feeling it. I had work. I had things to do. I said something about bad timing. Victoria pushed hard, way harder than she ever had about a family thing. Said it would be good for us. Said I needed to show support. Said my attitude was exactly what people meant when they said I was holding myself back. Skylar jumped in right after her. Called it bonding time. Called it important. Said Duke deserved it. Walter just said, "It's only a weekend?" Every part of me said this wasn't about celebrating. It felt staged, like pieces were being moved into place. I went anyway. That was my first mistake. We met at my parents' place early in the morning. I pulled up in my truck with the Mustang strapped to a borrowed car hauler behind it, and I knew right away how this was going to go. The driveway was already half blocked by the SUV, packed neatly with personal bags, coolers, and food. Everything else, the tools, extra fuel, spare gear, the heavy stuff, was stacked off to the side. Skylar looked at my truck and said, "We'll just put the rest in yours." No question, no pause. By the time we rolled out, my truck was loaded down with firewood, gas cans, toolboxes, and anything bulky or inconvenient. The SUV pulled out first. Duke was in the front passenger seat, Victoria behind him, Skylar driving, Walter riding shotgun like a co-pilot. They were already laughing about something before we even hit the main road. At the first rest stop, I walked up while they were grabbing snacks. Duke was mid-story about some meeting he'd run, throwing out words that sounded important but didn't actually say anything. Skylar was hanging on every sentence. Walter nodded like he was watching a lecture. I tried to add something basic. Asked what time we were aiming to arrive so I could plan daylight for setup. Duke talked over me without missing a beat. Victoria laughed at his next line like it was rehearsed. At the next stop, Duke leaned against the SUV and started explaining to Walter how leadership was about presence. Victoria mirrored his stance. Same lean, same crossed arms. She repeated one of his phrases back to him like she was trying it on. When she looked at me, it wasn't annoyed. It was worse. It was that look people give when they think you're slow to catch up. I made a small comment. Nothing confrontational. Just said it felt like I was driving the moving truck while everyone else was on vacation. Skylar smiled tight and said I was being sensitive. Victoria said I was reading into things and should relax. The cabin was worse than advertised. I backed the hauler into a flat spot near the trees and left the Mustang strapped down for the night. No point risking it on gravel in the dark. The place sat deep in the trees, and it was obvious no one had been there in a while. The generator wouldn't turn over. The roof had a slow leak near the back corner. The woodpile was soaked through. It was the kind of situation where you either fix things fast or spend the weekend cold and in the dark. Skylar took one look around and sighed like this was a personal inconvenience. Then she turned to me. "Forrest, you're good at this stuff," she said. "Get the lights on so we can start celebrating." Duke had already taken his jacket off and stepped onto the deck. Walter followed him with a drink in hand. Victoria handed Duke a glass and sat beside him, knees angled toward him, back turned to me. I opened the generator housing and started checking connections. The fuel line was cracked. I said it out loud, mostly to let them know it wasn't a quick fix. Skylar waved it off. "Do what you do." Rick showed up about half an hour later. He was a friend of the family I'd met a few times over the years. Loud voice, permanent grin, the kind of guy who always managed to insert himself into things. He pulled up in a spotless SUV and immediately went to Duke like they were old colleagues. Rick clapped Duke on the back and congratulated him on the promotion. Asked about the job, the title, the future. Duke soaked it up. Rick turned to me once, looked at the open generator and said, "Good thing we've got a guy for this stuff." He laughed. Skylar laughed with him. I got the generator running just before sunset. Lights flickered on. Heat kicked in. Nobody thanked me. Duke raised his glass toward the cabin like it had fixed itself. While I worked on the roof patch, Rick leaned against the railing with Duke and talked about how some people were meant to manage and others were meant to execute. He didn't say my name, but he didn't need to. Victoria stayed glued to Duke's side, laughing at things that weren't funny, nodding along like she was already part of his world. When I finally sat down, Skylar asked me if I could take a look at the water heater next. Not if I wanted to. When? That was when it clicked that this wasn't just disrespect. It was a pattern being enforced in real time. Duke was being elevated. I was being positioned. And everyone was acting like it was normal. At dinner, Duke stood up with his glass before anyone even started eating. "I just want to say something real quick," he said, already smiling. "This year has been about growth for me. About moving into a new phase. You get to a point where you stop playing small and start surrounding yourself with people who are on the same level." Skylar beamed. "That's my boy." Duke kept going. "It's not about titles. It's about momentum. About knowing when it's time to step up." Rick clapped first. Loud. "That's how winners think." Walter nodded slowly. "Makes sense." Skylar jumped in right after. like she'd been waiting for her opening. "We're just so proud of you, Duke. You've always known where you're headed." Then she turned toward me. "Forrest, you're talented too, but you get stuck sometimes." I didn't say anything. She kept going. "You pour all that time into that car. And for what? You don't need it. Duke does. His work depends on image now." I set my fork down. "That car isn't a jacket you pass around." Walter raised a hand. "Let's be practical. Duke's in a different world. You don't need a classic car to do maintenance work." Duke leaned back in his chair. "No one's saying it's personal. It's just logical." Victoria nodded. "You are kind of stuck, Forrest. You've been in the same lane for years. That car, it's like you're hiding in it." I looked at her. "Hiding from what?" She shrugged. "From moving forward." Rick laughed. "Man, when I moved up, I dropped a lot of hobbies. That's just how it goes." Skylar smiled at Rick like he'd said something wise. "Exactly. Everyone has a role." I ate. Let them talk. Victoria stood up a few minutes later. "Bathroom," she said, setting her phone down by the sink, face up, too close to the edge. It buzzed twice in quick succession. A banner flashed across the lock screen before it went dark again. "Cabin weekend. Duke." He's still clueless. "After this weekend, the car is handled." Mom and Dad already agreed. Then another banner slid in right behind it. "Duke. And Victoria's coming with me. Don't let him blow it up before Sunday." I didn't touch the phone. Didn't unlock it. I just slid it away from the sink like I was moving it out of the splash zone and put it back down like nothing happened. When Victoria came back, she smiled at me. "You okay?" "You're quiet." "I'm fine," I said. Skylar jumped in. "Don't sulk. We're just having an honest conversation." Walter added, "You always take things too personally." Duke smirked. Big decisions make him shut down. That's his thing. Victoria reached under the table and rested her hand on Duke's arm. She didn't bother hiding it. Skylar noticed and smiled. "You two make a great team." When I stood to clear my plate, Skylar said, "Before bed, can you check the water pressure? It sounded off earlier." Rick added, "See? Everybody contributes in their own way." I nodded once and took my plate to the sink. I checked the heater before bed. Bad thermocouple. Simple fix. I replaced it, relit the pilot, and listened until the burner caught clean. They thought I was quiet because I was cornered, because I was folding. The pieces lined up. The weekend, the toast, the car, Victoria. This wasn't a family dinner. It was a handoff, and they were already acting like it was done. The boathouse was the only place on the property with any quiet left in it. I went there because the main cabin was full of voices and laughter that didn't include me, and because Skylar had told me earlier to check the wiring by the dock lights in the morning. I didn't announce myself. I could see a thin line of light under the boathouse door, and I heard laughter. Close. Contained. Like someone trying not to be heard. Duke's laugh has always carried. I should have turned around. I didn't. I just pushed the door open. Duke had Victoria backed up against the wall near the workbench. They weren't startled. They were mid-laugh, close enough that there was no mistaking what was going on. Duke's hand was on her waist. Victoria's head was tilted back, smiling like this was all some joke they were in on together. She said, "He's so reliable, it's almost impressive." Duke laughed. "Yeah, but boring. You can't build a life on reliable." They noticed me a second later. Victoria froze. Duke didn't. He just straightened up and smiled, slow and smug, like I'd walked in on something he'd already decided I'd see eventually. "Well," he said, "guess we're past pretending." I looked at both of them. Victoria opened her mouth, then closed it. Duke stepped forward a half step, casual, confident. "Look, Forrest," he said. "I didn't plan to do this here, but whatever. Life isn't fair. It's structured. There are tiers." I said nothing. He kept going. "Some people build things. Some people move things. And some people own the room. Victoria wants more than maintenance mode." Victoria nodded quickly. "That's not what I meant, but I want growth." Duke gestured toward the cabin. "That's the difference. I offer momentum. You offer stability. Stability is fine until you realize it's just stagnation with better marketing." I let him talk. He glanced back at Victoria. "And that Mustang? Come on. A car like that should be driven by someone who fits the image, not someone hiding behind a toolbox." I finally spoke. "You mean someone who didn't build it?" He smiled wider. "Someone who knows how to leverage it." Boards creaked out on the dock behind me. A voice called Duke's name, sharp, impatient. "Skylar." She stepped into the doorway and stopped dead, like she'd just walked into something she didn't want to admit she expected. Walter came after her, slower, drawn in by the same raised voices. Skylar's eyes flicked from Duke to Victoria and then locked on me, annoyed, not shocked. like I'd interrupted a plan that was supposed to go cleaner. She took one look at the scene and sighed. I was wondering when this would come out. Victoria stepped closer to Duke. Skylar didn't look at her. She looked straight at me. Forrest, she said, don't make this harder than it needs to be. I laughed once, not loud, just enough to break the air. Hard for who? For everyone, she snapped. You always do this. Turn things into drama. Duke folded his arms. No one's attacking you. We're just being honest. Walter cleared his throat. You've always struggled with change, son. This is just reality catching up. I looked at him. You knew. He hesitated. Skylar answered for him. We didn't want to upset you before things were settled. Settled, I repeated. Skylar crossed her arms. Victoria has made her choice. Duke has earned his position. And you, she paused, like choosing her words carefully. You need to stop being selfish. Victoria finally spoke. Forrest, I didn't mean to hurt you, but I can't stay small just to make you comfortable. Duke laughed under his breath. See? That's growth. I shook my head. You planned this. Duke didn't deny it. We organized it. There's a difference. Skylar stepped closer. We've already talked about the practical side of things. The car, the insurance, the paperwork. It just makes sense to transfer it. That got my attention. Transfer it to who? Duke didn't even hesitate. Me. I looked at Skylar. You discussed my property without me. She waved a hand like I was being childish. Don't be dramatic. It's just a signature. A formality. Walter nodded, trying to sound reasonable. We can do it clean. You sign the title over. We get it notarized in town. Duke takes responsibility going forward. So you need my signature, I said. Skylar's mouth tightened. We need you to stop acting like everything belongs to you. Duke smiled like he was already bored. It's not stealing if you agree to it. This is the part where you prove you can be an adult. Victoria watched my face like she was waiting for me to snap. I didn't. I just stood there. That silence started to get uncomfortable. Skylar shifted her weight. Duke stopped smiling. Walter looked between us. Say something, Skylar said. What do you want me to say? I asked. That you understand? She said. That you're willing to move on. Duke added, this is how adults handle things. I nodded once. Got it. The relief was immediate. Skylar exhaled. Walter relaxed. Duke smiled again, satisfied. Victoria reached for Duke's hand. Skylar clapped her hands together. Good. I knew you'd come around. You've always been the reasonable one. They turned to leave like the conversation was finished. What none of them noticed was that I hadn't agreed to anything. I hadn't argued either. I just stopped participating, and that unsettled them more than any fight could have. I didn't sleep much. Not because I was upset, because there was nothing left to say. I woke up to silence. Not the normal quiet you get early in the morning, but the kind that feels wrong right away. No voices, no doors, no footsteps on the deck. Just wind moving through trees, and the low creak of the cabin settling. I sat up and checked the time. Too late for everyone to still be asleep. Duke was always up early when he wanted to be seen as productive. Skylar never missed a chance to hover. Something was off. I grabbed my phone. No signal. Same as the night before. I stepped outside. The SUV was gone. The hauler was gone. The Mustang was gone. For a second, I just stood there, barefoot on the cold boards, looking at the empty space where my car had been parked. No tire marks that made sense. Just two clean tracks where the trailer tires had cut through the dirt and vanished down the road. I walked to my truck. Hood popped clean. Distributor cap missing. That part didn't even surprise me. I checked the cabin again. Slower this time. No one inside. Beds stripped. Personal bags gone. Cabinets rearranged like they'd been packing quietly while I slept. On the kitchen table was a folded piece of paper, placed dead center like it mattered. I opened it. Forrest, you needed space to cool off. Think about how you've been acting and how to be a team player. We'll reach out when things settle. Walters. No apology, no explanation, no mention of the car. Just instructions. I folded the paper once and set it back down. The anger came fast. Not explosive. Sharp. Clean. My chest tightened. My jaw locked. I paced the room once, then twice. Thought about Duke's smirk. Skylar's tone. Walter signing his name like this was some lesson plan. Then it faded. Not because I talked myself down. It just burned out. After that, it got quiet again. Really quiet. No boss yelling, no phone buzzing, no one asking me to explain myself or soften my tone or think about how someone else felt. I checked the pantry. There was food. Basic stuff. Enough for days. They didn't want me dead. They wanted a reaction. They didn't get one. I found an old percolator in one of the cabinets and filled it from the sink. The water pressure was fine. I set it on the stove and lit the burner. While it heated, I opened a window and let the air move through the cabin. I sat at the table and drank the coffee while it was still hot. That almost never happened back home. I walked the property after that. The land was bigger than it looked from the deck. Trees spaced out enough to see through, but thick enough to block sound. There was a trail leading down toward the water, and another heading uphill toward a ridge. Out back, past a line of brush, I found the shed. I remembered there being a shed somewhere back there, because that's where Grandpa kept the things nobody was supposed to touch. It was worse than I remembered. Rusted hinges, door half swallowed by vines. Looked like it hadn't been touched in years. I didn't open it yet, just took note of it and kept walking. No rush. The day moved slow, but not in a bad way. I fixed a hinge on the back door that had been squeaking since we arrived. Split some wood with an axe I found by the porch. Cleaned out the fire pit and stacked kindling the way my grandfather taught me. I cooked something simple and ate it sitting down, not standing over a counter, not rushing between calls. By late afternoon, the sky darkened. Wind picked up. A storm rolled in, steady and heavy. I stayed inside and watched rain hit the windows without thinking about what I was supposed to be doing next. That night, I lit a fire. I sat there listening to it crackle, watching sparks climb and die, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Calm. Not relief, not numbness. Actual calm. No one needed anything from me. No one was measuring me against someone else. No one was talking over me or assigning me a role. They thought this was punishment. It felt like a reset. Later, after the fire burned down, I went back outside with a flashlight and walked to the shed again. This time, I pulled the vines back and forced the door open. Dust and oil smell hit me at the same time. Under a tarp sat my grandfather's old flatbed truck. 70s model. Rusted panels. Flat tires. But solid where it counted. I didn't touch it yet. Just stood there and looked at it for a long moment. I went back to the cabin and slept better than I had in years. In the morning, I woke up early and started working. Not because I was desperate, because I wanted to. It took 2 days to get the flatbed moving. Not rushed days. Long ones. The kind where you work until your hands are black with grease, wash them, then go back at it because you missed something. I scavenged what I could from the generator after I tore it back down for parts. Cleaned fuel lines, replaced cracked belts, patched what couldn't be replaced. By the second morning, I had pressure where there hadn't been any, and spark where it mattered. When the engine finally turned over and stayed running, I didn't cheer. I didn't sit back and admire it. I shut the hood, packed what I needed, and pointed the truck downhill. The road out was narrow and rough, 15 miles of dirt before it met pavement. The flatbed rattled the whole way, but it held. When I hit asphalt, my phone came back to life all at once. Missed calls, texts, voicemails stacked on top of each other. I didn't open any of them. I made 2 calls. One to report the Mustang and hauler stolen. Time-stamped, clean, no wiggle room. One to county non-emergency about my disabled truck. Not for them. For me. I gave the dispatcher the cabin address and told her my truck had been disabled and left on the property. She gave me a case number and said they'd notify the owner and arrange a tow when the road crews cleared the mud. Then I quit my job the same way I fixed everything else, clean and final. The boss was toxic, the crew was worse, and I'd been staying out of habit, not loyalty. I didn't go back because there was nothing there worth returning to. Then I put the phone back in my pocket and kept driving. The town sat in a valley, small and worn in the way places get when people stay because they want to, not because they have to. One diner, one gas station, a hardware store that looked like it had been there forever. People looked up when I drove through, eyes following the truck like they were trying to figure out where it had come from. I pulled into the first garage I saw. The sign said Alfred's Auto in faded paint. The bay doors were open. Inside, a guy in his late 50s stood over a diesel engine with his arms crossed, jaw tight. He looked up when he heard the flatbed idle in. "You lost?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "Depends if you fix things here." He snorted. "I try." "What do you want?" I nodded toward the engine. "Mind if I take a look?" He studied me for a second, then stepped aside without a word. The problem was obvious once I got close. Bad injector timing combined with a sensor reading that made no sense. Whoever worked on it last chased the symptom instead of the cause. I pulled a panel, adjusted what needed adjusting, and told Alfred to start it. It fired clean. Alfred stared at the engine, then at me. "How long you in town?" "Not sure," I said. He wiped his hands. "You want work?" "Yes." "You good with diesel?" "Better than most." He pointed up a narrow staircase along the wall. "Apartment upstairs, empty, cheap. You start now." That was it. I moved in the same day. One room, a bed, a sink, a window that looked out over the street. I changed my number that night and left the old phone in a drawer. The work came steady. Farm trucks, logging equipment, old sedans held together with hope. People didn't ask where I was from. They just asked if I could fix what was broken. When I said yes, they believed me. When I said no, they listened. Alfred didn't hover. He didn't praise. He paid on time and expected results. If something went wrong, we fixed it and moved on. The next morning, Alfred shoved a clipboard at me. Payroll forms, tax stuff, basic paperwork. I wrote the apartment address without thinking. Later that week, I used the same address to register the flatbed so I could legally drive it in town. I wasn't trying to be found. I was just trying to be clean. Word spread fast. People started asking for me by name. Someone would pull up and say, "Alfred said Forrest could take a look." That was it. No backstory. No explaining myself. Alfred helped me straighten out the title through the old estate file. Grandpa's truck had been sitting up there for years, forgotten the same way everything else was. Once we found the right paperwork, it was one clean transfer. No family drama. I spent nights restoring it the right way. New lines, reinforced frame, blacked out panels. It wasn't pretty yet, but it was solid. 3 months passed without me noticing. I settled into a routine. Work. Dinner at the diner down the street. Coffee in the morning while watching the town wake up. No one talked over me. No one asked me to be smaller. Alfred watched all of it quietly. One night, after we locked up, he said, "You came here to disappear." "Yeah," I said. "You won't," he said. "You're too useful." I didn't argue. One afternoon, a patrol car pulled into the lot while I was under a truck. The officer leaned against the bay door and waited until I slid out. "You Forrest?" he asked. "Yes." He nodded like he'd already confirmed it. "Your name came up on a report, and your address updated when you registered that flatbed," he said. "Small towns don't keep secrets from paperwork. Just curious. You ever own a Mustang?" I wiped my hands. "Used to." He glanced at his notes. "Fancy city guy put one in a ditch about 10 miles out. Tried to take off on foot. Didn't get far." I met his eyes. "Wasn't me." He smiled slightly. "Didn't think so. Car's registered to someone else, but insurance is already pushing back. Driver didn't have permission." "Sounds messy," I said. "Yeah," he replied. "Family's raising hell." He left after that. I went back to work. That night, I sat in the diner and watched the sky turn orange behind the hills. The waitress brought my usual without asking. A couple of guys at the counter nodded when I walked in. Someone asked if I could look at a starter the next day. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel bitter. I felt placed. Back home, they thought they'd stranded me. All they really did was push me into a place that needed exactly what I was. They showed up on a Tuesday morning. No call, no warning. Just Skylar's SUV pulling into the gravel lot like it owned the place, followed by a dented rental sedan that looked one pothole away from giving up. I was under a truck when Alfred tapped my boot with his toe. "You got company," he said. "And they look loud." I slid out from under the lift and wiped my hands on a rag. Skylar stepped out first. She looked smaller than I remembered, but sharper somehow. Tired eyes, tight mouth. Walter followed, shoulders slumped, moving like he'd aged 10 years in a month. Duke wasn't with them. Victoria climbed out of the rental last. She didn't look at me at first. Skylar didn't waste time. She walked straight toward me, heels crunching gravel like punctuation. "There you are," she said. "We've been trying to reach you." "I changed my number," I said. Walter jumped in. "Forrest, this is serious." Skylar waved him quiet. "Your brother is in trouble. Real trouble. And you're the only one who can fix this." I leaned back against the tool cart. "Fix what?" She pulled a folder from her bag and slapped it down on the hood of a car. Papers spilled out. Insurance letters, legal notices, court dates. "Duke had an accident," she said. "Things got misunderstood." Walter rubbed his forehead. "The police are saying he took the car without permission." "That's because he did," I said. Skylar's face tightened. "Don't be smart." Alfred cleared his throat from behind me. "You want to take this somewhere else." Skylar ignored him. "Forrest, you need to tell them you let Duke borrow the Mustang. That's it. One statement. It clears everything." Walter nodded quickly. "It saves his career, his future. And your insurance will pay out," Skylar added. "Everyone moves on." I looked at Walter. "You want me to lie?" Walter hesitated. "It's not lying, it's reframing." I laughed once. Alfred shook his head and walked back inside without saying a word. Victoria finally stepped forward. "Forrest, this got out of hand. Duke panicked. He didn't mean for any of this to happen." "You didn't mean to either," I said. She flinched. "You left me there. You disappeared. I woke up alone, I said. You left me. Skylar snapped, This isn't about your feelings. Victoria rushed on. Duke manipulated me. He told me things about your future. I believed him. You believed him while sleeping with him, I said. She swallowed. I made a mistake. Skylar cut in. We don't have time for this. I picked up one of the letters and skimmed it. Insurance denial, I said. Unauthorized driver. Walter leaned in. That's why we're here. I handed the paper back. I reported the theft the morning I left the cabin. The words landed heavy. Skylar stared at me. You what? I called it in as soon as I hit pavement, I said. Filed a report. Time-stamped. Walter's face went pale. Forrest! Duke's voice came from the SUV behind them. You did what? He'd been sitting inside the whole time. He got out slow, limping slightly, jaw tight. No confidence left. No smirk. You reported me? He asked. You stole my car, I said. Skylar spun on me. How could you do that to your own brother? You stranded me, I said. You took my property. You left a note telling me to think about my behavior. Walter stepped forward. We were trying to teach you something. You taught me, I said. Just not what you wanted. Duke ran a hand through his hair. Man, you always do this. Take things too far. I looked at him. You crashed it. You ran. And now you want me to clean it up. Victoria stepped closer. Forrest, please. I know I hurt you, but this doesn't have to destroy everyone. It already did, I said. Skylar's voice rose. You owe this family. No, I said. I paid my share for years. She jabbed a finger at me. After everything we did for you, I cut her off. You used me. Silence stretched. Alfred came back out holding a clipboard. We're done here, he said calmly. This is a business. Skylar turned on him. You don't know anything about our family. I know he works, Alfred said. And you don't. Walter slumped. Duke stared at the ground. Victoria wiped her face with the back of her hand. I picked up the clipboard Alfred set down, flipped a page, tore off a sheet, and wrote a number at the bottom. I handed it to Skylar. What's this? She demanded. Invoice, I said. Generator repair, roof patch, water heater, labor, parts, weekend rate. Her mouth opened. You're charging us? You said my work was just chores, I said. This is the price. Walter looked at the paper and sighed. We can't afford this? That's not my problem, I said. Duke finally looked up. You're really doing this. I met his eyes. I already did. Skylar's voice cracked. You're throwing us away. I shrugged. You already did. Alfred opened the shop door. Time to go. They didn't argue. Not this time. Skylar got back into the SUV stiffly. Walter followed. Duke hesitated, then limped toward the rental. Victoria stood there a second longer. I really did care, she said quietly. I know, I said. Just not enough. She nodded once and left. The engines pulled out. Gravel settled. Alfred handed me a coffee from the break room. You okay? Yeah, I said. That evening, I closed up early. I got in the flatbed and drove toward the diner. The neon sign flickered like always. Someone waved from inside when they saw me pull in. I parked, shut the engine off, and sat there a second. Back home, they audited my worth and wrote me off. Here, people knew my name. That was enough. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true. My fiance borrowed my truck for the weekend, saying, don't ask questions. I didn't. I checked the dash cam and caught her picking up her coworker. At a hotel, so I destroyed both of their lives. Sup Reddit. So my fiance borrowed my truck for a girls' trip and told me not to ask questions, so I didn't. I just checked the dash cam footage and watched her entire affair unfold in 4K with stereo sound. I, 33 male, have been engaged to Maris, 29 female, for 3 months. We were together 2 solid years before the engagement. We weren't the couple posting every moment online, but we had our rhythm. Saturday morning hikes followed by breakfast at the diner on 5th. Her grading papers while I prepped geology labs at the kitchen table. Planning a June wedding at the botanical gardens her grandmother recommended. She'd already picked bridesmaid dresses. I'd already asked my brother to be best man. We were building something real, or so I thought. Looking back now, the cracks were always there. Small things I'd dismissed. Patterns I'd ignored because I wanted to believe everything was fine. One day, I was grading geology labs when Maris walked in around 7. Research assistant at Westbrook University Observatory meant late hours and irregular schedules. She dropped her bag, grabbed water, and checked her phone twice in 10 seconds. I need your truck this weekend. Looked up from a paper claiming tectonic plates move because of ocean currents. Where are you headed? Girls' trip. Nothing major. Where exactly? She opened the fridge, stared inside without grabbing anything, closed it. Classic avoidance. Kelly's organizing something in the mountains. Kelly, her grad school roommate who lived 4 hours north. Last time they hung out was at Kelly's engagement party 18 months ago. You're driving 4 hours for a girls' weekend? It's 3 hours, maybe less. We need quality time. Been planning this for weeks. Funny. She'd never mentioned planning anything. And you need my truck because? Mine's making that grinding noise again. Don't want it dying on some mountain road. The grinding noise she'd been ignoring for 4 months despite me offering 3 times to fix it. The grinding noise that existed as a convenient excuse whenever she needed something. What mountain specifically? Some rental Kelly found. Near Pine Ridge, maybe. I set down my pen. And you need my truck because yours might break down. Exactly. Don't want that stress. It's supposed to be relaxing. Something felt off. Not obvious. Just this weird gut feeling. The vague responses. The way her eyes kept bouncing to her phone. When are you leaving? Tomorrow morning. Probably 8. The engagement ring on her finger caught the light. White gold with a small diamond. We'd picked it out together 3 months ago. Back when I thought I knew who I was marrying. Sure. Keys are on the hook. Her whole face changed. Tension melted away. Really? Thank you. You're amazing. She kissed my cheek, grabbed her phone, disappeared into the bedroom. Shower started a minute later. I went back to the geology papers but couldn't focus. The way she'd asked. The way she'd said just 2 days like I wasn't supposed to question where my vehicle was going. That phrase had been popping up more lately. Don't ask why I'm working late. Don't ask why I need Sunday afternoon. Don't ask why I changed my passcode. Just trust me. One name started appearing constantly about 9 months ago. Eamon. Eamon suggested this new data model. Eamon stayed late to help. Eamon brought coffee. Eamon understood the pressure. Eamon actually listened. At first, I didn't think much of it. Everyone has that one coworker who makes the job bearable. I'd met him once at the university's spring fundraiser. Eamon was there with his wife. Early 30s, maybe 6'3", runner's build, dressed sharp, wedding ring, confident handshake, easy smile. He talked about his wife's veterinary practice, how she'd just opened her own clinic, how proud he was, how they'd bought a Victorian in Riverside and were renovating it, how they were talking about starting a family. Thinking back, I could see how it lined up. His name kept coming up more. Her expression would change when she mentioned him. She checked her phone constantly and smiled at messages she wouldn't show me. I'd written it off as work stress. My instincts were dead on the whole time. My truck had a dash cam system. Front, rear, and interior cameras with audio and GPS tracking, cloud storage that uploaded automatically at Wi-Fi hotspots. I'd installed it 9 months ago after a hit and run. Cost me $580, but worth it. The footage uploaded automatically whenever the truck connected to Wi-Fi. Gas stations, coffee shops, rest stops. My phone could access everything through an app. I told myself I was being paranoid. That checking made me the villain. That relationships require trust. But I opened the app anyway. Friday morning she packed light. Weekend bag, nicer clothes than usual, full makeup kit. Out the door by 8 with my keys, travel mug, and a quick kiss. Drive safe. I will. Love you. Love you too. I watched from the window as she backed out. Then I opened my laptop. First upload came from a gas station near the downtown exit. Timestamp 8:47 a.m. Just her filling up. I closed the laptop. Went for a run. 6 miles. Came back, showered, made breakfast. Told myself to stop being crazy. But I checked again around noon. The next upload destroyed everything. The Riverside Hotel, downtown, not heading north toward any mountains, about 15 minutes from our apartment. Timestamp 10:38 a.m. The front camera showed Maris pulling into the parking garage. Level 2. She found a spot, put the truck in park, checked her phone, reapplied lipstick using the rear view, adjusted her hair. She was waiting for someone. At 10:47, a man walked out of the stairwell. Rolling suitcase, button down and khakis, wedding ring visible. Eamon. He opened the passenger door, tossed his suitcase in back, settled in. Then he leaned over and kissed her. Not a friendly greeting, a real kiss. The kind reserved for people you're sleeping with. The audio kicked in crystal clear. Sorry, checkout took forever. The front desk was understaffed. It's fine. Maris's voice, light and happy. I told him I needed the truck for a girls' weekend with Kelly. He didn't even question it. Didn't ask a single follow-up. They both laughed. My hands went numb. Where's Daphne think you are? Medical equipment conference in Denver. I even printed a fake itinerary and left it on the kitchen counter. You're terrible, says the woman who borrowed her fiancé's truck to drive me to a romantic cabin. More laughter. I had to set the laptop down before I broke it. I walked to the kitchen, got water, spilled half of it, had to grip the counter to keep steady. 3 months engaged, 3 months of planning a wedding, 3 months of her wearing my ring while planning a future with someone else. I forced myself back to the laptop. Pressed play. Maris pulled out of the garage. GPS tracking showed them heading north, actually toward the mountains now. For the next 70 minutes, the footage was just them talking, laughing, his hand on her thigh while she drove, her singing along to songs I'd heard 1,000 times. Songs that would make me sick now. The audio quality was flawless, every word clear. When are you going to tell him? I don't know. It's complicated with the engagement. It's not that complicated. You end the engagement, we figure out the rest. You're still married, Eamon. You've got a whole wife at home who thinks you're at a conference. For now, once this grant comes through and I get the associate professor position, I'll have the financial stability to make changes. Daphne can keep the house and practice. I just need the tenure track position first. And how long will that take? 8 months, maybe less. They're making final decisions in July. My department chair already told me it's practically guaranteed. You've been saying that for 5 months. I know, but this time it's real. I promise. Once I've got tenure track, I'll have the salary security. Then I can leave clean. Set Daphne up properly. Do this the right way. A pause. Then Maris's voice quieter. And what about us? What about me? Once everything's settled, we can be together openly. No more hotel rooms. No more sneaking. Real life together. Maybe even that condo you've been talking about. Silence for a moment. You could tell she wasn't buying it completely. Then Eamon changed the subject. Started talking about the cabin. How he'd rented it under a friend's name. How the owner required cash so there'd be no credit card trail. How they'd have the whole weekend without interruptions. How he'd even left his location services off so Daphne couldn't track him. This guy had planned everything. Fake itinerary. Cash payment. Burner-level operational security. The footage cut off when they stopped for lunch. No Wi-Fi signal. I sat there staring at a frozen frame of my fiancée and her married colleague laughing together in my truck. I didn't call her. Didn't text. Didn't blow everything up immediately. Instead, I opened a browser and searched Eamon's name in Westbrook University. His faculty page popped up. Senior Research Fellow, Department of Astronomy. PhD from a state university. 6 years with Westbrook. Published research on stellar evolution. Professional headshot-looking confident. Married to Daphne according to his bio. Lives in Riverside. I found Daphne's Instagram. Public account. Owner of Riverside Animal Clinic. Her bio was genuine and warm. Living my dream helping animals every day. Grateful for my incredible husband, who believed in this vision from day one. 8 years together, countless adventures, infinite gratitude. Her feed was professional photos of surgeries, adopted animals, clinic updates, personal photos too. Her and Eamon at their Victorian, their lab courage, their backyard garden. A post from 6 weeks ago celebrating their 8th anniversary. 8 years with my best friend and biggest supporter. Here's to 80 more. Looking at those posts made my chest hurt. This woman had no idea. She was posting gratitude while he was kissing my fiancé in parking garages, while he was planning to leave her once his career position was secure, while he was using her support to build his credentials before trading up. I downloaded the parking garage footage. The kiss at 10:47 a.m. The full conversation from 10:52 to 12:19. Saved everything to a new folder with clear timestamps. Created a document outlining exactly what happened. When, where, what was said. Then I found Daphne's Instagram again. Looked at her latest post one more time. That photo of her and Eamon. That caption about gratitude and partnership. I opened the message option. Started typing. You don't know me, but I think you deserve to see this. I'm engaged to the woman in these videos. She asked to borrow my truck this weekend for what she told me was a girls' trip. My dash cam recorded the truth. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but I'd want to know if I were in your position. These videos are time-stamped and dated. Everything is documented. I attached the clips, the parking garage pickup, the kiss, the full audio conversation. All of it. Daphne deserved the truth. I hit send, but I wasn't done. Not even close. I opened a new email. Found the contact information for Eamon's department chair. Typed out a professional message. I'm writing to report a serious ethics violation involving Eamon and his subordinate researcher Maris. I have video and audio evidence of an ongoing romantic relationship between Eamon and Maris, whom he directly supervises. This constitutes a clear violation of the university's faculty conduct policies regarding relationships with subordinates. The attached footage includes explicit acknowledgement from Eamon that he is Maris's supervisor and that they've been conducting this relationship while concealing it from the university. I believe this warrants immediate investigation. Attach the same footage. Sent it. Then I went for another run. 8 miles this time. Didn't think. Just ran until my legs burned. When I got back, my phone had 2 notifications, both Instagram messages from Daphne. Is this real? Please tell me this is some kind of terrible joke. I opened the conversation. She'd sent a second message while I was running. I just watched everything. All of it. The audio. Every word. I've been suspicious for months but kept telling myself I was paranoid. Thank you for sending this. I need to process. But thank you. I replied immediately. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Nobody deserves this. If you need anything or have questions about the footage, let me know. Her response came fast. Can we talk? Not now. But soon? I feel like I'm losing my mind and you're the only person who understands what this feels like. Of course. Whenever you're ready. I set my phone down. Eamon would be home from his fake conference around 6 Sunday evening. His whole fabricated story was about to explode. And Monday morning, his department chair would open that email. Start an investigation. Bring both of them in for questioning. I'd fired the first shot. Now I just had to wait for the fallout. The next dashcam upload came Saturday afternoon. The cabin had Wi-Fi. Footage showed them unloading groceries from my truck bed. Laughing. Eamon's arm around Maris's waist. Her looking up at him the way she used to look at me. Sunday morning footage showed them packing everything back up. One more kiss before getting in the truck. This was perfect. We need to do this more often. We will, once everything's finalized. You keep saying that. I mean it this time. I love you. I love you too. My phone buzzed. Instagram message from Daphne. I confronted him. Showed him the footage. He tried to deny it at first, then admitted everything. Said it was a mistake. That he was confused. That he'd fix it. I told him to pack a bag and get out. He's staying at some motel near campus. My attorney is filing papers tomorrow morning. Good. He doesn't deserve a second chance. I know. It's just hard. 8 years together and he threw it away for someone half his age who works under him. You deserve better than someone who'd do this to you. Thank you. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. You're dealing with your own situation. We're both dealing with the same situation, just from different sides. That's true. When does she get back? Tonight around 8. I'm planning to be here when she arrives. Are you going to confront her? Oh yeah. But first, I'm taking back what's mine. Maris walked in around 7:45 p.m. Sunday evening. I was on the couch where I'd been sitting for the past hour. Laptop closed, TV off, phone face down, just waiting in silence. She walked in dragging her weekend bag, looked tired, hair messy, face sunburned, but not panicked, just tired from a weekend trip. Hey, I'm back. I didn't stand up, just looked at her. I can see that. How was the cabin with Kelly? She froze. Just for a second. Her hand on her bag handle. Then her face shifted into something more careful. It was good. Really relaxing. Why? Just asking. Sounds nice. Before you get comfortable, I need something. What? I held out my hand. The ring. What? The engagement ring. I want it back. Her face went pale. Why would you want the ring back? Because I'm ending the engagement. And that ring is mine. I paid for it. So give it back. You're ending the engagement? Why? What happened? Nothing happened. I just realized I don't want to marry you. So the ring comes off. Now. Everything was fine when I left. Everything was fine for you, maybe. Not for me. Ring. Now. Can we at least talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. You're not who I thought you were. I don't want to marry someone I don't actually know. So the ring comes off, or I take it off. Her hands shook as she twisted the ring. It came off slowly. She held it out like she was handing over something precious. I took it, dropped it in my pocket. Thanks. Now we can talk. About what? About where you actually were this weekend. About who you were with. About what you were doing in my truck. The color drained from her face completely. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Eamon, senior research fellow, your direct supervisor. The married man you've been sleeping with for 9 months. The one you picked up at the Riverside Hotel Friday morning. The one you drove to a cabin for a romantic weekend. Ring any bells? Dead silence. How did you... Dash cam. Front, rear, and interior. Audio recording, GPS tracking. I watched you pick him up at 10:47 Friday morning. Listened to your whole conversation about how I didn't question your story. Heard him talk about leaving his wife once he gets tenure. Heard you both laugh about how stupid we are. She just stood there. Couldn't move, couldn't speak. And before you ask, yes, I sent everything to his wife. She kicked him out yesterday. And yes, I sent everything to his department chair. They'll be investigating him for ethics violations tomorrow. Probably fire him. Definitely revoke his tenure consideration. You did what? I documented everything and sent it to everyone who needed to know. His wife deserved the truth. His employer deserved to know he's violating university policies. And I deserve to know who I was actually engaged to. You've destroyed everything. His career, his marriage, our future. Your future? What future? He was going to leave her. He was never going to leave her. Guys like Eamon don't leave. They just keep promising until their side piece gets tired of waiting. You were never his future. You were his entertainment. Her phone started buzzing. Eamon's name on the screen. She didn't answer. You need to fix this. Tell his department chair you lied. Tell his wife you made it up. Something. I'm not fixing anything. You both made your choices. Now you deal with the consequences. This is vindictive and cruel. This is justice. You lied to me for 9 months. Used my property to conduct an affair. Made me look like an idiot. And now you're facing the results. Actions have consequences. I loved you. We could have worked through this. You loved me so much you spent 9 months in hotels with a married man. Very convincing. Her phone kept buzzing. Text after text. She looked at the screen and her face fell apart. He's saying I ruined his life. That his wife sent everything to the university. That he might lose his position. That he's breaking up with me. Not my problem. Not yours either anymore. You're done with him. Done with that job. Done with this apartment. You've got 1 week to get your stuff out. You're kicking me out? Your name isn't on the lease. You're a guest who overstayed her welcome. Where am I supposed to go? Figure it out. You're an adult. Act like one. She grabbed her bag, stood there for a minute like she wanted to say something else, then just left. The door slammed. I sat there in the silence, pulled out my phone, messaged Daphne. Done. Took the ring back. Told her to get out. She knows everything now. Her reply came fast. How did she react? Denial at first. Then panic when she realized Eamon was losing everything. Tried to blame me for being vindictive. I kicked her out anyway. Good. She doesn't get to play victim here. Exactly what I thought. Eamon called me 17 times today. Left voicemails begging me to reconsider. Saying he made a mistake. That he loves me. That he'll do anything. Already blocked him. Changed the locks too. My attorney says the video evidence makes everything straightforward. No fault divorce with clear proof of adultery. I get the house, half his retirement, spousal support for 2 years. Monday morning brought chaos. First came an email from the department chair at Westbrook. Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. We take all ethics violations seriously and will conduct a thorough investigation. Monica texted around 9. She worked in Maris's department. Holy smokes. Eamon and Maris both got called into HR this morning. Building security escorted Eamon out an hour ago. He's on administrative leave pending investigation. I didn't respond. Just watched it unfold. At 10:42, Maris's mother called. I let it go to voicemail. Something about one mistake and discussing this like adults. One mistake. 9 months of hotels was one mistake. I deleted the voicemail. Around noon, Monica sent another update. Eamon got fired. Official termination. Maris resigned before they could finish investigating. Both their careers destroyed in less than 4 hours. Instagram message from Daphne. Did you see? Eamon's LinkedIn shows he's no longer with Westbrook. I saw. Fast work by the university. Want to meet for coffee sometime this week? Sure. When works for you? Wednesday afternoon? I'm free after 2. Wednesday afternoon I got to the grind 15 minutes early. Daphne walked in at 2:30 exactly. Tall, maybe 5'8", athletic build. Dark hair pulled back. Professional but tired. You must be the guy with the very useful dash cam. I stood up. Shook her hand. That's me. And you must be the woman with the very good attorney. She smiled. First real smile I'd seen from her. Guilty. Thanks for meeting me. We talked for 2 hours. About Eamon's lies. Maris's manipulation. The red flags we'd both ignored. How obvious everything seemed in hindsight. She was smart. Direct. No unnecessary drama. Just processing everything logically while protecting herself. I like that. This was really helpful, she said as we walked out. Thank you for meeting me. Anytime. If you need to talk or if anything comes up with the divorce, let me know. We exchanged numbers. Real ones this time, not just Instagram. Coffee again next week? She asked. Yeah, I'd like that. She smiled. Me too. Tuesday morning, I walked out to my truck and stopped. Deep scratches along both sides. The word liar carved into the hood. Driver's side mirror shattered. Paint keyed down to bare metal. Building security footage from 3:24 a.m. showed Maris walking up to my truck with her key, spending 18 minutes systematically destroying it. I took photos, called the police. Officer showed up within an hour, reviewed the security footage. That's pretty clear evidence. You want to press charges? Absolutely. Vandalism over 1,500 is a felony. Could be looking at jail time. Good. File it. I got 4 repair estimates. Cheapest was 3,800. Then I called Maris. She answered on the 4th ring. What? You've got 2 options. Option 1, you pay for the truck repairs. Option 2, I press felony charges and sue you in civil court for damages. I don't know what you're talking about. Security footage shows you approaching my truck at 3:24 this morning. Police already filed the report, so you can either pay for what you did or face criminal charges. Silence. I can't afford that. Not my problem. You fix it or face charges. Your choice. Long pause. Then her voice changed. Got softer. Desperate even. What if I can make it up to you another way? I'll do whatever you want. Anything. Just don't make me pay that much. I'm barely making rent as it is. Whatever I want? Yeah, anything. I'll apologize publicly to everyone. I'll tell Eamon's wife I'm sorry in person. I'll admit everything was my fault to anyone you want. I'll clean your apartment every week. Do your laundry. Cook all your meals. Whatever you need. Just please don't make me come up with that much money right now. I let the silence stretch out. Let her think she might actually have a chance. So you'll humiliate yourself, scrub my floors like a maid, publicly admit you're a cheater, but you won't pay for the damage you caused to my property? I just don't have that kind of money right now. Please, I'm begging you, I'll do anything else. You had money for new clothes last month, money for going out with Eamon, money for all those hotels. But now you're broke? That was different. That was before everything fell apart, before I lost my job, before my parents cut me off. And whose fault is that? Silence. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to bring me $3,800 in cash by Thursday at 9 a.m., or I press charges and let the courts handle it. Those are your only 2 options. I told you I don't have it. I just offered you other ways to make it right. I don't want you cleaning my apartment. I don't want your apologies. I don't want anything from you except what you owe me for destroying my truck. Cash or charges. Pick one. You're really not going to give me any other option? You're really going to force this? I'm not forcing anything. You made the choice when you keyed my truck at 3 in the morning. Now you get to deal with it. Cash by Thursday or face felony charges. That's it. Another long silence. I could hear her breathing. Could practically hear her brain working through her limited options. Fine. I'll get the money. Thursday, 9 a.m. My building lobby, don't be late. I hung up. Thursday morning, she showed up at 8:50, looking worse than I'd ever seen her. Dark circles under both eyes. Hair unwashed and pulled back. Clothes that didn't match and looked slept in. She held out an envelope without making eye contact. I counted it. $3,800 in cash. Mix of 20s and 50s. Some hundreds. All wrinkled like they'd been folded and unfolded multiple times. Where'd you get it? Sold my laptop, my camera, my designer bag, borrowed the rest from my sister. She had to take it out of her kid's college fund. Happy now? Not particularly, but we're even on the truck damage. So you're dropping the charges? Nope. The police report still stands. Whether the DA prosecutes is up to them. But I'm not requesting they drop anything. Her head snapped up. Eyes wide. You said if I paid, you wouldn't press charges. No, I said you had 2 options. Pay for repairs or face charges. I never said paying would make the criminal charges disappear. That was your assumption, not my promise. You lied to me. You tricked me. I gave you accurate information about your options. You heard what you wanted to hear. Sound familiar? Kind of like how you heard Eamon was going to leave his wife when he was actually just stringing you along. She stood there shaking, face turning red, hands balling into fists at her sides. You're vindictive and cruel. You know that? This whole thing is vindictive. I'm holding you accountable. Big difference. You committed a crime. You destroyed my property. You pay for the damage and you face the legal consequences. That's how it works. I hope you're proud of yourself. I hope this makes you feel like a big man. I am, actually. Thanks for the money. Your sister's kids will understand someday. She turned and walked away. Didn't look back. Just got in her car and drove off. I deposited the cash that afternoon. Used it to pay for the repairs in full. Had it looking better than new within a week. The DA prosecuted Maris for the vandalism, felony, criminal mischief. She couldn't afford a real attorney. Got stuck with an overworked public defender who pushed hard for her to take a plea deal rather than risk trial. 1 year probation, 500 hours community service, full restitution for all damages which she'd already paid, felony conviction on her permanent record. I showed up to the sentencing, sat in the back of the gallery, watched her stand before the judge while he explained every single consequence she'd be facing. The restrictions on her freedom, the community service hours, the permanent mark on her record that would follow her forever. She saw me sitting there. Her face went completely pale, but she didn't say anything, just stood there and took it. Afterward, she cornered me in the courthouse hallway. Probably not the smartest move given the circumstances. Are you happy now? I have a felony record, can't get a decent job anywhere, can barely afford rent sharing a studio apartment with 2 other people. Is this what you wanted? I wanted you to face consequences for your actions. Mission accomplished. You've destroyed my entire life over one mistake. One stupid mistake. You destroyed your own life when you decided to cheat with your married boss for 9 months. Then you destroyed my truck in the middle of the night. I just documented everything and let the system do its job. The system. Right. You manipulated the system. You manipulated me. I gave you choices. You made your decisions. Now you're living with them. That's called being an adult. She walked away without another word. I didn't see her again for several months. Over those next few months, Maris's life continued falling apart in predictable ways. Monica sent updates occasionally. Maris was working retail at the mall, barely making minimum wage, sharing a tiny studio with 2 roommates to split the rent 3 ways. Her parents had completely cut her off after finding the court records online. Neither of them would return her calls. Eamon's situation was somehow even worse. Fired from Westbrook with an ethics violation permanently on his academic record. Lost his shot at tenure track at any university forever. Working rotating warehouse shifts to make ends meet while fighting Daphne's divorce demands. His entire academic career destroyed at 33. Daphne's divorce finalized in October. Clean sweep. She got the house outright. Eamon's entire retirement account. 2 full years of spousal support. He walked away with his clothes, his car, and 30 days to clear out completely. We celebrated at the same Italian place where we'd had our first real date a few months back. How does it feel? I asked. Liberating. My practice is thriving. I'm actually happy. You got free from someone holding you back. Exactly. She paused. So are we actually dating or still in strategic alliance mode? What do you want? To date you. Officially. Works for me. She smiled. Good. I really like you. We left the restaurant, went back to my place. She kissed me. We were sitting on my couch 6 weeks later when my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. Oh no. What? Maris, at my door. I looked at the screen. Maris standing there. Hair done, makeup on, wearing a dress I recognized. Want me to answer it? Daphne asked. No, I will. I opened the door. Maris's face went from hopeful to shocked. What's she doing here? She lives here. What do you need? Daphne's living with you? Yeah, what did you need? Her expression shifted. I came to talk. About us. I've been thinking about everything. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We had something real. We had nothing. You destroyed it. I was confused. Eamon manipulated me. I see that now. But you and I, we built something together. 2 years of memories. The hikes. The breakfasts. The wedding we planned. That meant something. Daphne appeared beside me. He's moved on. Maris's eyes locked on Daphne. Face hardening. Of course you're here. The perfect victim. Standing there in his apartment like you belong. I do belong here. You stole my life, my relationship. You swooped in the second everything fell apart and played the sympathy card. Poor Daphne. Cheated on by her husband. Let me console myself with her ex-fiancé. Daphne stepped forward. I didn't steal anything. You threw him away for a married man who was using you. Shut up. This doesn't concern you. It concerns me when you show up where I live. Maris's voice went sharp. Where you live? This was supposed to be my place. We talked about moving in together, getting married, building a future. And now you're playing house with him like I never existed? You made your choices, I said. And you made yours fast. How long did you wait? A week? 2? Before you started dating his wife? We started dating after both divorces. Months later. Sure. Keep telling yourself that. You probably bonded over hating us. Sat around talking about what awful people Eamon and I are. Made yourself feel superior while planning your revenge relationship. Daphne crossed her arms. This isn't a revenge relationship. We actually like each other. Something you wouldn't understand since you only cared about what Eamon could do for you. You don't know anything about what Eamon and I had. I know he's working night shifts at a warehouse and living in his brother's basement. I know he destroyed his entire career for someone he dropped the second things got complicated. Real love story there. Maris's face went red. At least I took a risk. At least Eamon made me feel alive. Not boring and safe and predictable like this. She gestured at me. You're settling, both of you. Settling for each other because you're too scared to actually feel something real. We're not settling, Daphne said. We're happy. Happy? You're both pathetic. Sitting here in your little bubble pretending you won something. You didn't win. You're just two losers who got cheated on. And you're the woman who destroyed her career for a married man who used you, I said. Working retail with a felony record while we're building actual lives. Yeah, you really came out ahead. She glared at us. You two deserve each other. Standing there judging me when you're just as broken as I am. At least I had the guts to go after what I wanted. She turned to leave. Took 3 angry steps toward the stairs. Her foot caught hard on the edge of the top step. She pitched forward violently. Tried to catch herself, but the momentum was too much. Arms flailing as she went down. She landed wrong. Really wrong. Her right arm bent completely underneath her body, at an angle arms shouldn't bend. The crack was clearly audible even from the doorway. She screamed, clutching her arm. I looked at Daphne. She looked at me. Should I call the paramedics? Daphne asked. Or the cops? She's trespassing on my property. Could call someone. Sounds like she needs help. Maris screamed louder. Her arm bent wrong, face twisted in pain. You're both psychopaths, she managed. Call someone, please. Daphne pulled out her phone. Slowly. Ambulance, but only because courage would be disappointed. She glanced at me. My dog has higher moral standards. Good dog. The ambulance arrived 12 minutes later. Paramedics loaded Maris onto a stretcher. One looked at us standing there. You two are very calm. Shock, Daphne said smoothly. Manifests differently for everyone. Right. Shock, sure. They loaded Maris into the ambulance and drove away. Lights flashing. I closed the door. Looked at Daphne. Most satisfying thing I've ever witnessed. Right? Karma has great timing. Should we feel bad? Probably, but I don't. Me neither. We went back to my couch. Put on another documentary. My phone buzzed around midnight. Unknown number. My arm is broken in 3 places. I need surgery tomorrow. I don't have insurance anymore. I really need help. I showed Daphne. You going to respond? Nope. Good answer. I blocked the number. Turned off my phone. Daphne curled up next to me. Courage jumped up between us. This is a good life, she said. Yeah, it really is. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.